Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So, some of the rules and limits of Islam are specified in the Quran. Basically, what you can do and can't do and how far you can go are clearly mentioned. Alcohol is absolutely haram. Salat is prayed at 5 separate times. If you skip a Ramadan fast on purpose, then you have to make up for it by fasting 2 months in a row. Or we're never allowed to worship or give the most importance to anything or anyone except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And stuff like that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specifically told us these kind of things in the Quran. But many things are not specifically mentioned in the Quran. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that Muslims should not come even close to having a haram relationship with the opposite gender. Basically, even if a boy and a girl aren't doing major sins that everyone says are haram, it's still not allowed for them to even act kind of improperly with each other. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't specifically mention what exactly is proper and what is inappropriate, or what exactly the limits are in coming close to a sin like that. Or like another example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to have good manners, right? But He doesn't tell us exactly what to do in every possible situation to show good manners. But even though the Quran doesn't mention specific instructions for every single type of situation, never think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's book is incomplete, na'udhu. There is no situation where the Quran can't help you. Because actually, if you dig a bit deeper, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does mention what we should do in any type of situation where we don't know the exact rules. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. Tell each other to act with ma'roof and stop each other from doing munkar and believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'll explain to you guys the meanings of ma'roof and munkar in a moment, inshallah. But first, you guys all understand that if we tell someone else to do something, we have to do it ourselves too, right? Otherwise, we'd be hypocrites. So if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we have to tell each other to do ma'roof and not do munkar, we should do that ourselves too. Now, what are ma'roof and munkar? Well, ma'roof comes from the word arafa, which means to know or like recognize something. Ma'roof in Arabic means things that are well known by everyone and commonly accepted by all God-fearing Muslims, even if they're not specifically mentioned. Basically, what's reasonable. Like not going too far. Things that make sense in Islam. For example, how can girls and guys deal with each other properly according to Islam? Well, they should do what's reasonable, ma'roof, what makes sense in Islam. We know that girls and boys should stay away from each other as much as possible in Islam. But it's reasonable, it makes sense that in an emergency situation, it's okay for a lady to talk to a man. For example, if if it's really important, like if her house is burning down and when she calls 911, a guy answers the phone. Or like in class, if her teacher asks her a math question. She shouldn't just do nothing because girls and guys should stay away from each other in Islam. This isn't unnecessary conversation. This is serious and important. Now, if she starts asking how the guy's family is doing and what the guy's favorite color is and blah blah blah, that would not be reasonable. That wouldn't be ma'roof. Because that's not necessary. It doesn't count as appropriate talk, qawlun ma'roof. Why? It doesn't go with the flow of Islam. Ma'roof things should go with the flow of Islam. Basically, they should agree with Islam. They shouldn't go against Islam. So, in any situation, we have to ask ourselves, would Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala consider this reasonable for a Muslim to do? Now, munkar. Munkar, on the other hand, means things that are denied, things that God-fearing Muslims agree are wrong, because they're unreasonable. They're either extreme, like going too far, or they don't make sense. Like how, even though it doesn't say specifically in the Quran that we shouldn't, pick our noses in public, it's still a munkar because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't agree with Islam or the importance of cleanliness and good manners in Islam. Even though there's no ayah or hadith about it, we know that being clean is important in Islam. So it's commonly agreed on by the majority of sensible Muslims that picking your nose in public is wrong and un-Islamic and basically gross. Munkar is basically the opposite of ma'ruf. Basically, things that don't go with the flow of Islam. Munkar can also mean essentially going too far in anything, being extreme. Extreme means like going too far. So, extreme doesn't only mean going too far in bad deeds, it can also mean going way too far in good deeds. For example, a man should never spend so much in charity that he doesn't have enough for his family to live properly. That's going too far in a good deed. Because in Islam, a Muslim's family has their rights. So, that would not be ma'ruf, that would actually be munkar, even though it looks like a good deed. So, munkar is basically unreasonable stuff. Things that are denied, rejected, like don't make sense to most reasonable Muslims because even though they're not mentioned in the Quran, they don't make Islamic sense. Now, when I say Islamic sense, this is important because, some things in Islam, they would make sense or they wouldn't make sense, but then for a non Muslim, it would be the opposite. So, for example, in Islam, it, of course, makes sense that we should wear hijab, for example, although that's mentioned in the Quran. But anyway, just an example. But a non-Muslim would not probably think that that makes sense. They would think that it's, I don't know, restrictive or something. But we know that it's actually protection. So ma'ruf has to make Islamic sense. Now, when we're deciding if something makes sense in Islam, this is important, guys. We can't be naughty and start cheating that, oh, I don't think it's reasonable to wear hijab in America because a lot of people don't like Muslims here. No, we have to remember to fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in these choices. The ayah said, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. It ends with وَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ. Believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You need to believe, you need to be aware that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is right there watching you make that decision. Don't do just what you would want to do. Do what you would think that He would want you to do. What you would actually believe that He would like you to do. In another ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, طاعة وقول معروف فإذا عزم الأمر فلو صدقوا الله لكان خيرا لهم. طاعة, obedience, وقول معروف, and معروف talk. So as we can see, obedience, basically following Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's commands, comes first in the ayah. And then basically if you're confused about how to obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because a situation like yours isn't mentioned, then you try to figure out what would make sense in Islam. قول معروف. So obedience should always be at the front of your mind. فإذا عزم الأمر, and when a command is given, فلو صدقوا الله لكان خيرا لهم. It would be خيرا لهم, better for them, basically the people, if they صدقوا الله, if they were true and honest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Basically, when we're making these kind of decisions, it'll only help us to have sincere intentions and not try to use this ma'ruf concept to try to escape the rules of Islam. Because if we make the wrong intentions and try to cheat by making excuses that some of the things we know we shouldn't be doing count as ma'ruf, only we will lose. You think Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala needs our worship? Of course not. But we need it to escape Jahannam and earn Jannah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, يخادعون الله والذين آمنوا وما يخدعون إلا أنفسهم وما يشعرون. So basically, they think that they're tricking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Muslims by trying to, get around the rules. But really, they're only fooling themselves, because in the end, they're going to be the losers on the Day of Judgment. Now, if you're having trouble figuring out the right thing to do, like if you're confused, the key thing is to stay on the safe side. If you're not sure whether you have to repray your whole salah since you weren't sure that you had wudu, stay on the safe side and repray. Don't be lazy. We have to think what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would want us to do, not what the easiest thing would be for us. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't want us to hurt ourselves, But at the same time, he also doesn't want us to be lazy. So we have to find a balance. Like, a Muslimah is allowed to take her hijab off in private with a female security officer in the airport because of safety reasons. But that doesn't mean that she can take it off on the street or at school, because that would be a munkar and disobedience. It's not like there's a high chance of her dying because of, wearing hijab. Hijab is actually a protection. So, anyways, a balance is important in maruf. You have to see what would be proper based on that situation. So, in the airport, in a private room, yes, she can take off her hijab. But on the street or at school, no. So, yeah, if there's any confusion you have because the Quran or a hadith don't mention a specific situation, the answer is actually right there in the Quran. Act with ma'ruf, stay away from munkar, and believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And, the fact that He's watching you make those decisions. Make sure you fear and obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in all these decisions. Inshallah, we can remember to act with ma'ruf and do what's reasonable according to Islam, and not do any munkar like senseless or extreme acts. And if we're not sure, stay on the safe side. JIC. Inshallah, we can obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every matter and earn being close to Him in Jannah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.